Hey kids, what time is it?
Vanessa Kirby thinks Sue Storm is a doormat. So she is, of course, the playing Sue Storm in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. And I do have to give Marvel some credit. She does look somewhat like Sue Storm, so that's pretty good casting in terms of the look. Although I do question casting her, who's I believe in her late 30s, maybe 37, 38, and Pedro Pascal, who's 50, as Reed Richards. If you're going to start a movie franchise, I'm not sure you want to start there. Maybe you want to have actors maybe in their mid to late 20s just so that they can have a little bit of longevity. But like I said, she does have the Sue Storm look, the classic Sue Storm look, but I'm not sure she really knows anything about her. So this is a Substack. Vanessa Kirby confirms Fantastic Four First Steps explores gender politics with Sue Storm. I'm not sure what that means about exploring gender politics, but the problem I have is with her saying that Sue Storm is a doormat. This is a Substack by John F. Trent from April 10th, 2025. And we have here actress Vanessa Kirby confirmed that Marvel Studios' upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps explores gender politics with her Sue Storm character. Kirby spoke with Entertainment Weekly saying, quote, "If you played an exact 60s Sue today, everyone would think she's a bit of a doormat." I completely disagree with that statement. I'm not sure if she's ever read a comic book by Fantastic Four comic book or read anything about actual Sue Storm. But there's this thing that's been happening, I was going to say lately, but it might be more like 10, 20 years, where people think they have to change classic stories for what they call the modern audience. I would love for someone to explain to me what the modern audience is. Please leave it in the comments and let me know what the modern audience is, because am I part of the modern audience? I'm here. I exist in 2025. I go watch movies. I read comic books. I participate in in all these mediums and everything that they talk about. But I tend to disagree with about 90% of what people consider modern audience. So where do I fit into all this? I'm not sure. Please let me know if you know. So they think they need to change these classic stories, these classic characters for the modern audience. I don't know what that means exactly, because I'm perfectly fine with the way the characters and the stories were written. So in terms of Sue Storm, I take exception to her being called a doormat the way she's portrayed in the comic books, because that is not true at all. Let's see. So figuring out how to capture so she goes and figure out how to capture the essence of what she represented to each generation, where the general politics were different, and embody that today was one of the greatest joys. Okay, still have no idea what that means. Sue Storm is perfectly fine the way she was created and portrayed. The idea that Sue Storm was a doormat in the early Fantastic Four comics is ridiculous. Very well said by the writer here. In the second issue of Fantastic Four, she turns invisible and breaks herself free from a federal detainment facility. And here's the straight from the comics. Later in the issue, she works with a team to take out the Skrulls, who have been posing as them and framing them for various crimes. There she is fighting the Skrulls. What did he say? It was early in, okay. So the idea of the second, so this was the second issue already. So this was way back in the 60s that these comics were out. So she was not a doormat. Like I said, I take a complete exception to this statement about it. And I don't believe from what Vanessa Kirby's saying here, whether she's ever read Sue Storm. Read a Fantastic Four comic. Not to prolong this anymore. My exhibit A is the first issue of Fantastic Four #1. Right here. Now, this is not an issue from 1961, which was originally printed. This is actually it is a replica of Fantastic Four #1, but it's what Marvel and DC are now coming out with facsimile comics, which are just replicating classic issues from way back when, 60s, 70s, 50s. And it's basically a money grab because they're having a hard time creatively coming up with new stories. But I actually think it's a good idea to do this, because when you do things like this and you reprint exact copies of these issues that now are unattainable unless you're very rich, because the original comic is now worth, I don't know, I didn't look this up, but thousands, if not tens of thousands. So the average reader is not going to be able to do this. So by getting this facsimile comic, they do price it at the current comic book price of $4.99, even though they're not really paying creators to come up with new stories. So I'm not sure why the price is so high. Like I said, money grab. But I actually do think this is a good idea, because it does give, well, pardon me for saying, it does give the actual modern audience a chance to get something that came out, 50, 60 years ago. And one of the really clever things that they actually reprinted exactly how it came out, including all the funny ads. Like, the ads are almost just as entertaining as the ads they put out back then are almost just as entertaining as a story. Like, you're gonna have like this notion of trying to build your body up in a very quick way. There's a couple of ads in here, money making, scams and stuff like that, just like it's always happened. So, thing about selling shoes, a way to make fast money. They're kind of very funny, these ads. So it's like, in addition to the story of the issues, that the ads are actually almost just as entertaining. But so in Fantastic Four #1. When we first get introduced, like the very first pages, when we first get introduced to the characters, can you guess which character of the Fantastic Four do we first see right out of the second page? It's Sue Storm. So she's the first character we get introduced to in the very first Fantastic Four comic book. So she's not a side character. She's not a sidekick. She's not somebody like a backup character. She is just as important as the other three members of the Fantastic Four. So nothing about a doormat here. So she is actually the first character in the Fantastic Four that we see introduced. Later on in the comic book, they actually go back. They have a flashback to the origin story back before they were the Fantastic Four. And I want to bring out this one panel where Ben Grimm sensibly is pointing out that he doesn't think the shielding on Reed's spaceship is good enough to block out the cosmic rays, and obviously he was correct about this. But what Sue says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to align this right, but what Sue says when Ben is giving out his precautions and why he doesn't want to go, she says, and I quote, "Ben, we've got to take that chance unless we want the commies to beat us to it." So she is very much forward, a very forceful part of this team, just as with anyone else. She pushes the team forward in the story just as much as anyone else. Even later on when Reed is saying, Reed tells Susan, "Ben and I know you have had some training in it, but you and Johnny haven't, so I'm not sure if you need to go." Automatically, she cuts him off. She says, "Don't say it, Reed. I'm your fiance. Where you go, I go." So yes, like I said, she is very much an equal partner in this. She took part in the decision to go, which turned them into the Fantastic Four. And she's had a bit of an evolution. At first, she was just the only thing, I believe the only powers was turning invisible, which was valuable enough. But over time, she has evolved to develop where she could put up an invisible force field to protect herself and people around. She can envelop other people around her from very powerful destructive forces, so she can protect herself and a lot of people with this force field. So she has developed more powers as she went along, just as with many superheroes as they evolve. I actually recommend going out and getting these facsimile issues, because you could read the original stories just as they were printed. Marvel is actually printing the first 12 issues of the Fantastic Four in this same type of facsimile type. I believe they're also printing the 3-issue series of when Galactus shows up. I believe it might be 48, 49, 50 or 49, 50, 51. And I need to get those as well because the story of this movie that's coming out, Fantastic Four First Steps, is when Galactus shows up. So I also need to get that as well. But I have to wholeheartedly disagree with Kirby's take on it. I don't know what she means by I don't know how much she's going to change the character of Sue Storm in this type of in what she's saying here. I have no opinions right now on whether how good or what the movie's going to be like, because other than what I know, kind of what the story is it's supposed to follow. But I can't say whether it's going to be good or bad. I hope it's a big success. I hope they did a great job on it. I hope they didn't ruin it by changing the characters too much, because I as much as anyone else, I'm looking forward to a great movie if possible. But and I hope this doesn't mean these stories like these doesn't mean that they've changed the characters too much, because the characters as they were written, even back in the 60s and forward, do not need to be changed. Sue Storm is she? I'm going to admit this. Sue Storm is actually my favorite character in the Fantastic Four, and as she was written in the comic books, she does not need to be changed. She's just as strong, both physically and mentally and psychologically as she needs to be, and she's just an equal partner in the group as anyone else. So completely disagree. Not a doormat at all, and I hope. I'm not sure if Vanessa Kirby has actually taken the time to read the comic books. I hope she doesn't change Sue that much, or at all, actually. I hope she portrays her genuinely, and if she does, and if all the other characters do the same thing all the other actors do the same thing with the characters, it should be a great movie. I'm looking forward to it and hoping it's good. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this, what you think about the movie. And we'll be looking forward to when it comes out and talking about that as well. Okay, that's it for me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching GeekTime TV. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure to check the little bell icon anytime someone from our network drops new content here. Want some GeekTime swag? Check out the merchandise available in the GeekTime TV store, linked in the channel description below. Share GeekTime TV with friends, and as always, thank you for your support. We'll see you soon.